Greetings from light. So the last time we spoke of the shift. Let us understand this in greater detail. Much has been spoken of dimensions. We would like to focus our attention on this. Because though much has been spoken, a lot has been misunderstood. So we would like to focus our attention on 3 dimensions. Those 3 that are at present relevant for you. The 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. First of all, your words of leaving the 3rd dimension and moving to the 5th dimension gives you a belief that it's going to be a change in location. It is not. Dimensions are not spaces. They are energy bands. Let us repeat this so that you are clear. They are not spaces. They do not exist in a time-space continuum. They are energy bands. Energy bands that partially overlap each other. Like you would have a hologram where you have certain layers overlapping each other, forming a whole. And depending upon how you turn that hologram, depending upon where your focus is, you see a different image. But the picture remains just one. But each one sees it differently because of where you are focusing. So the first myth that must be completely erased is they are only energy bands coexisting. Is that clear? Yes. The 3rd dimension is the densest of all the energy bands. And because it is the densest, light from source enters this energy band in the least volume. If you were to have a dense, heavy piece of rubber and would pour water onto it, extremely little water would filter through because it is densely packed. Do you understand this? Now understand what happens in this energy band. It is solidly packed. The vibrations are far denser. So there is little volume of light, not no volume of light. Little as in subjective, comparative to the fifth dimension. But due to the volume of light being little, the denseness cannot disappear. So one adds to the other and the other leads to the one again. And that is why the third dimension seems to almost be like a trap. You get caught in it again and again. But it is not impossible. For along with this third dimensional energy band also lies coexisting the fourth dimension. Again, another energy band. If you will recall, we had told you a long while ago, the fourth dimension and the eighth dimension are portals. They are not dimensions in themselves. And being portals, the travel through the fourth dimension and the eighth dimension will be far shorter than the third or the fifth. Whenever you move your personal energy frequencies predominantly into a dimensional energy band, your journey in that energy frequency will be much longer. But as the energy shifts, personal energy, the energy bands in the universe are already present. The energy bands for Earth are already present. The energy frequency of Gaia is already present. So we are now referring to your energy movements. So when you are shifting from the third dimension energy frequency towards the openness of the fifth dimension energy frequency, there is a transition, which is the fourth dimension portal. In a sense, it helps you to have one foot here and the other foot there. And this is necessary because the fifth dimension frequency is so diametrically opposing the third. Were you to go from one to the other directly, it would be traumatic. So there is a transition portal, which is the fourth. Whereas the third dimension frequency is the frequency of materiality, the fourth dimension frequency is the recognition of the illusion of materiality. And the fifth dimension frequency is the frequency of non-material. So in just 3 dimensions, one moves from material, solid, dense existence to non-material existence of light. And the 4th dimension helps you to understand the truth. The truth that materiality is illusion. The truth that body is illusion. The truth that everything associated with body is illusion. And yet it is the reality of the 3rd dimension. So though it might be illusion in the bigger picture, it is still reality. And therein lies the root of duality. Why is the 3rd dimension a dimension of duality? Because there is illusion which is evident from a bigger picture, but the illusion becomes your reality when it is viewed in a narrow focus. This duality, where illusion and reality seem to coexist parallelly, gives rise to all other forms of duality. So the duality that needs to be removed completely is this duality. What is illusion and what is reality? And in this question lies your shift. What is illusion and what is reality? Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, all will tell you that the reality that you are experiencing is a significant reality. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs do not allow you to consider any event or situation in your life as an illusion.
You can realize it, that it's an illusion after some time.
When you have shifted into the 4th dimension. And that is why we continuously state, shift the focus. This is what we mean. Shift the focus. This does seem real. But shift the focus to, I am aware it is illusion. And now, this awareness cannot only remain intellectual. As soon as you affirm that this does seem real, in that word seem, you already state clearly that it is not. So as soon as you make this affirmation that this does seem real, but I am aware that it is illusion, you cannot stop there. Instantly look for the illusion. So there is an illness. There is a dis-ease. No one will argue with you that that is very real. In the densest possible form real, for it is within the body. It is not even within the thought or the emotion. It is within the body. In every dimension, there are strata going from dense to light. And the body is the densest of the third dimension. So the reality is the most potent. So you cannot ignore when there is a dis-ease. And you should not ignore when there is a dis-ease. But you should recognize that that dis-ease seems real because you have not yet identified the illusion. So you need to identify the illusion. Every dis-ease, every pain, every point of numbness, illness in the body is an indication of an illusion that you have not recognized.
Did you say you have not recognized? It's not the intellectual thing, it is what you're inside your soul. Or
It is when
the soul recognizes.
No, it is what your planetary conditioning is. It is planetary conditioning. In order for the human race to survive for so many eons in the third dimension, there needed a planetary consciousness of a reality that is a seemed reality, but which is an illusion. But now comes the time to shift. If you can give yourselves your own time limit, let us stay by the end of 2015. You shall move in that direction. You are still caught in the time-space continuum. So now make use of that to your advantage. Set yourself individually a time frame by which your predominant frequency band should shift to the fifth dimension. If you have a time frame and a goal and a focus upon that goal, you shall proceed in that direction. So do not look now at the other peripheral dualities, male and female, good and bad, right and wrong. Irrelevant. These shall not go. However much you strive towards it, these shall not go till the root duality, illusion of reality and what seems real.
Our physical bodies everything is energy, everything is source, even matter, right? So would we be it? Yes, what I feel is we're in an illusory world because we don't recognize, don't go beyond the physical. But isn't this also in a way real?
Of course it is.
Because it's
And of course,
energy.
it is still source light.
Yeah.
However densely packed, it is still source light. But it is this source light that has, because of its denseness and darkness, taken on layers upon layers of non-light. The journey of ascension is to move from the I am not, the non-light, into light. And yes, of course, we do agree. All creation is light creation. But even though the I am not is light creation, the journey, the shift, the ascension, the evolution is to move from the light creation of I am not to the light creation of I am. Recognize what is third dimension. So we are going to take her example. Is this body third dimension?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No! This is a form existing in the third dimension.
So you can, in fact, completely change it.
That is right.
You can make it grow.
This is not third dimension, so you do not need to die in order to be fifth dimensional beings of light. This is not third dimension. The body is not third dimension. This floor that you are seated upon is not third dimension. It is all existing in the energy frequency band that you have called third dimension. And this body and this floor and these walls shall remain. But as soon as they exist in your reality of fifth dimension, this floor and this wall will not seem solid. They shall not seem hurdles to you. They shall no longer remain boundaries. Because you shall have no boundaries, even though you exist in a bounded physical body.
So you convince the mind.
You cannot convince the mind.
Conscious. Will it then be possible to float through space?
There is no movement in the fifth dimension.
So it's stillness?
You go nowhere. What you desire comes to you.
So in the fifth dimension there would be no distance.
Not at all.
Because we would
Because you would recognize that this body is not a three-dimensional body at all. It is a vehicle. It is a vehicle that can exist in any dimension you choose to exist.
Is the way to, one of the ways I guess, to move, to make that shift would be for us to recognize ourselves as source light? No, even if it's intellectual starting.
If it is intellectual, it's not a start.
Then we need to.
If it is intellectual, it is not a start. So let us
Maybe by
continue.
manifesting little and then
Absolutely.
Through the experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is only by the experience, not intellectually knowing. If that were true, by now the entire world would be only in a space of pure light. For much is known already. In the third dimension, what are your thoughts? The
Limitations.
thoughts are, I am a person. I am married. I am not married. I have children. I have a job. I do not have a car. I need your validation. I need to be loved. I am healthy. I am not healthy. He is rude and she is mean. This is good and this is not good. He is honest and she is corrupt. These are your thoughts. So with which mind, beloved, are you going to start the journey? With a mind that is completely imbued in third dimensional thought. So the mind is not the place to start. The intellect is not the place to start. It is pure experience. And it is ironic that you should ask where we should start, because you have already started, all of you. You did not ask, where should I start? You started because you knew where to start. Why? Because the fifth dimension energy band also resides within you here, now. So the fourth dimension energy, which helps you to understand, to distinguish illusion from reality, the one foot here and the other foot there, is that dimensional energy band that takes you, pulls you from the third dimension. And in this energy band, beloveds, exist healers, psychic workers, so-called channels, all those who believe in magic, not as magic that is sleight of hand and is only trickery, but magic, divine magic. But here also reside that magic which is black. That black magician is also in fourth dimension, transition to the fifth. Just as you, all of you who practice white magic. The reason is the fourth dimension allows you, encourages you, teaches you to manipulate energy. Why is this necessary? Because in the fifth, there is no talk, there is no emotion, there is no movement, there is no thought. There is only energy, manipulation as you desire now.
That can
That
also
is
be
thought.
used for the wrong.
No.
So that will not
For
be
the
wrong.
black magician cannot transit into the fifth.
But still there will be very few in the
Yes, initially. But as your band increases, the crowds will gather. Why have we been pushing you and pushing you and pushing you? Why have all our discourses been only about your self-awareness, self-empowerment, self-light, self? For the universe now needs this band and such other bands of bodies, not three-dimensional beings. Such bands of bodies that not only believe they can exist in the fifth, not only desire to exist in the fifth, but know and experience that they are existing in the fifth. We need these bands. All other knowledge now is superficial, irrelevant, not significant.
You need these bands to change the situation on earth as it is now. You're trying to make
Nothing shall change, beloved.
things like stopping corruption.
Nothing shall change
Okay.
till we have a critical mass of bodies that have changed. And then that critical mass that exists in bodily form, in the fourth and in the fifth, that critical mass of energy will do what energy does. It radiates, and as it radiates, it shifts. It shifts the hurdles in its way. You talk of corruption, but you corrupt yourself. Your thoughts are not pure. You talk of forgiveness, but you live in anger. Your emotions are not pure. So you have to ask yourself at the end of every day, and the only way to make this journey is one day at a time. Today, what was my predominant energy band? All the time keeping in mind that you have set your time free.
Even our physical, in a way, our energies are a hologram, right?
Of course.
So we have these bands of the third, the fourth, the fifth. I remember you even saying we even have the sixth and the seventh.
You have all.
Right. Why? And it's a physical body. Why is it? How do we explain it? Why are we where we are?
Planetary
Oh,
conditioning.
Okay.
Planetary conditioning. Your roots go deep down into the third dimension. You now have to gently work upon these roots. Visualize yourself like a large banyan tree. Its roots spreading wide and deep. If you were to uproot that tree and cut the roots, the tree will die. The roots have to be gently gathered. If the tree has to be moved elsewhere. So you have to work at planetary conditioning. The planetary conditioning that makes you think and feel like a mortal. like a limited being that gives you a disbelief of your spiritual vastness. So many have been on this journey of opening up and activating the third eye and the crown chakra. But where has it really got you? What are you really doing with it? Planetary conditioning is very, very strong.
It was mentioned that it was actually now not going to be that strong, and the planetary conditions will not actually be so rigid.
Beloved, the planetary conditions have changed. The conditioning has not
Oh, I
changed.
see.
And how can the universe change your conditioning, beloved? We have brought in higher rays that can facilitate the loosening, the removal of the conditioning. We have given you tools to recalibrate your entire chakric system. Every tool has been handed over to you. But that is all that the universe can do. We cannot pull the thoughts out of your mind. We cannot pull the emotions out of you. Were it possible, we wouldn't need these discourses.
So it's the planetary condition that kind of limits us.
Conditioning.
I'm sorry. And they're limiting us, and yet we're the ones who have changed the planetary conditioning.
That is right.
So that is also duality.
That is
Of
also
course.
duality.
So would
And so the simplest way is to become aware that you have been caught in the third dimensional seeming reality, to remind every cell in your body that this is only illusion, and as we said earlier, look for the illusion. The illusion, I am sick. I have this disease. Illusion. But the more times you say that,
The stronger the illusion.
the stronger the third dimensional seeming reality. I am having a quarrel. I do not have money. Shift.
So affirmations work.
Not
Positive
only affirmations.
Intentions.
Affirmation and then living that affirmation. Beloved,
But
most
you take it,
people
you make it.
understand it that this word, this sentence shall do the trick. But beloveds, the third dimension is not the dimension of magic. It is the dimension of denseness, material. In order to experience the magic, you have to move into the fourth dimensional frequency band. To move into the fourth dimensional frequency band, you have to locate the illusion. For the fourth dimensional energy band works on only one law. All is truth. There is no other law. All is truth.
Wouldn't that be like the
So as soon as you begin a relentless search for the illusions, you have automatically shifted without doing anything. That is where, beloved, the journey starts.
Question.
Looking for the illusions. And you will uncover them tiny layer by tiny layer. But as soon as you have uncovered even the most minuscule layer, you must then live by it. If you do not, you shift back into the third dimensional energy band. And as you live more and more in the fourth dimensional energy band, that becomes your predominant energy space. Haven't you all noticed that when you are healing someone, when you are doing light work, as you have called it, 2 hours after that, you are in a space of bliss. Nothing seems to bother you. You are balanced. You feel light. Why? Because while doing the light work, you shifted completely into the fourth dimensional energy band. And that energy frequency still remains for you. We now desire that it should remain for more than 2 hours. And if you find that you are moving away, instantly find some other light work to do. There is so much light work to do. Just sit and send light to the earth, to victims, to survivors, to perpetrators. The more time you spend in the fourth dimensional energy band, the quicker will you learn energy manipulation in its divine sense. And then the hours spent in that space get longer and longer. Life in that energy band gets more vital, more real, more true. And the portal opens for the fifth dimensional energy band, the energy band of light. Olden religions have spoken about heaven. What is this heaven? The fifth dimension. But they gave you an impression that you have to die and go to heaven. And we tell you, yes, you have to die. You have to die as third dimensional beings, but live on in your body. And if you ask us, is this possible? Our answer will be an emphatic yes. And if you then ask us, is it possible for you? Our answer will be an emphatic yes.
I just wanted to ask, are there physical places as of now where this can be facilitated?
No. The journey must begin in daily life.
Then we'll stop requiring food and money.
Everything. Now let us talk about these choices that you make, as she said, of food and money. These are very big choices. And right now, in your world, they are rather significant. These are systems on the verge of collapse. But when pillars collapse, they create a lot of dust and chaos and noise and rubble. and you can scuttle in fear or stand still in light. Choice. Let us talk about choice in the third dimension. There was talk of free will. The third dimensional being has no, we repeat, has no divine choice. You believe, you think you are choosing. You are actually being pulled by the subconscious mind. You are being tugged by the intellect. That is not choice. Genuine choice only exists in the fourth dimension. Let us explain. So you are healing someone. And you understand that healing is very often moving the energies out of the physical body. That is the choice of the fourth dimension. To do or not. Not from fear, not from conditioning, not from the need to look good, but from an understanding of the energies that are. Just as the third dimension has no divine choice, the fifth dimension has no choice at all. It does not need choice, beloved. It does not need choice.
It is.
It is. Where is the choice?
But from there, from fifth.
From here, from fifth.
From fifth, yes, from here from the fifth. Can you not then, if you reach that, help those in the third?
Of course.
What you have?
And why are we therefore looking for these bands? Every transformation needs a critical mass of front runners. When your earth was populated, the Ashtar command populated. The Ashtar command populated in different forms. And when the critical mass of humanity and other earthly forms was reached, the Ashtar command left. So their energies populated the earth. And your energies shall now recreate a population on earth. Time and space shall continue to exist in the fourth dimension. But it shall be not past, not future. That linear time is only third dimension. The time that exists in the fourth dimension is now. And that is divine choice, beloved. In the now, what is true? In the now, what is true? when you are predominantly in the third dimension, what you think is true exists in a past or in a future that has not even unfolded itself. If I have that piece of cake, I shall fall sick. Why? Because you did years ago. If I have that piece of cake, I shall grow fat. A future that has not even unfolded. What is true in the now? When you know what is true and when you can differentiate it from illusion, then you know there is no fat, no thin. There is no illness, there is no health. These are only what you call the earthly choices. These are not choices at all. It is the choice of deciding between two of lesser evils. Divine choices are when the truth of two energy movements can be experienced instantly. And the choice is which energy movement to predominate with. And in the fifth, because you know already in the fourth that you are not dense. And you know already in the fourth that there are no boundaries, no space. And that all time is only now. There is no time, no space, no movement, no thing. Only light in the fifth. Many who have had near-death experiences have often spoken that they passed through a tunnel, came out into the light, and they all believed that they reached heaven. In a sense, yes. What they traveled through were energy bands, their own energy bands. And when they see magnificent beings waiting for them at the other side, it is their own fifth dimensional energy frequency giving them an imagery to say, move through this tunnel, the fourth dimension, and come to light, the fifth dimension.
But can people coexist on the fifth dimension and the third? I mean,
Very difficult.
No, their family members are in the third and they have moved to the fifth.
That is the greatest challenge.
It's very difficult then.
The greatest challenge. But this challenge is largely overcome when you predominantly exist. And by predominantly, we mean more than 85% of living existence in the fourth dimension. That dimensional energy will start radiating to the family members still caught in the third. And they may resist and pull and tug and fight. But energy recognizes no boundary, no walls.
Aren't relationships also illusion?
All.
So, And it's okay.
So in the fifth dimension, there are no relationships, only complete detachment, which starts in the fourth, because in the fourth you recognize what is true in the moment. And so what is true in the moment is neither loss, nor grief, nor separation, nor death, nor conflict, nor strife.
But that makes you appear.
What is true in that moment is that you are aware, as your fourth dimensional frequency vibration, you are aware that the other is seeing their reality as pictures, and those pictures seem real to them, and you can see the pictures and see the illusion of them and are all accepting, and you neither desire to change that reality or seeming reality for them, nor do you desire to move from your place of truth.
But that leads to strife for the other person.
Of course, and that is wonderful.
And they get more upset because you don't get upset.
And that is wonderful. For beloved, in this world, conflict, inner and outer, leads to harmony.
From a very practical viewpoint, when do you see this happening?
When do we see it happen? Or
But
should
people
the
will-
question be, when do you set your time
I would
frame?
ask that.
When do
Suppose I
you
set it
set?
at December.
Then work very, 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 very hard from September to December.
So that's what I'm asking. From a very practical viewpoint,
She's
Not
asking
at
you
all.
to set her time frame.
Not at all.
Oh, yeah.
but give us some.
But you can have your answer by moving into the fourth dimensional frequency band. So when you are in a space of light, while meditating, let us say, some experience that while doing yoga, pranayam, some experience that while dancing, singing, whatever activity of the third dimension takes you into the energy zone of the fourth dimension is an activity of magic for you. Use that activity to reach the fourth dimensional energy space 85% of every day. For if it is 85% of every day, it shall be 85% of all time. And when there, ask for the time frame. And you shall know, for the fourth dimensional energy is the energy of truth. Pure truth. Light be with you. For you are light. Spread that light without fear, without inhibition. Care not what others say or do. Those are their pictures of reality. You hold on to your experience of truth. Be light.